As an entrepreneur or a company, what is the value of a special purpose vehicle? And there's a lot of special purposes and a lot of different ways that you could leverage an SPV. But the very kind of basic, simple ones that we're going to cover are when you're raising capital and how you may want to leverage a special purpose vehicle. So when you're raising capital from friends and family to start your business, you may not be worried or thinking about the long-term effects of who's on your cap table and how you're going to manage that. But if you're going to be a successful business in certain areas, you're going to need to raise more capital. And not raise more capital than you need, but if you're going to look to raise capital, you may want to aggregate those friends and family, those smaller investors, into a special purpose vehicle, so that's one seat on your cap table. Now, when you're taking your next steps and you're raising future rounds of capital, you may want to look towards using a special purpose vehicle or working with a syndicate lead, somebody like us at Strategic Capital Partners, and there's many others out there who finding a strategic investor is very valuable. And if you can find a syndicate lead who's a strategic investor and has a network of strategic investors, now you have one seat on your cap table, you have one core relationship to manage, but you have a reach into a wider network and people that are supporting you on your mission. So again, the super early stages, friends and family, that next step when you're going to raise future capital and opening it up to a wider audience. And in terms of the wider audience, there are some new rules, new legislation that came out or went into effect, I think March of 2021 for crowdfunding, where you're able to execute on a crowdfunding campaign, raise up to $5 million and aggregate an unlimited number of investors, individual investors in a vehicle. So now it's one seat on your cap table. You can use that as a marketing campaign and a capital raising campaign, and you keep your cap table clean, you keep your life simple and easy. And then as you move on on your journey, some of these early investors or early employees may want some liquidity for their shares. Let's say they have a life event, something happens, and they want some liquidity and you're still a private company. You may want to look to work with somebody who will establish a special purpose vehicle so that they can purchase multiple employee stock, and then it actually cleans up your cap table. So rather than every transaction being a one-for-one, you can aggregate 10 shareholders or investors that are going to sell their stock, sell it to one entity that becomes a single investor on your cap table that you're aligned with, and that can be a future source of liquidity, a future source of funding. So there's a lot of different ways throughout the life cycle that a company may want to look at utilizing a special purpose vehicle, in particular when they're raising capital or providing their early investors or employees some liquidity. We're very bullish on the usage of special purpose vehicles, and I think it's something that's worth taking a look at. As an entrepreneur, an executive of a company, if you're looking at raising capital, if you're interested in learning more about special purpose vehicles, there's some great resources online. We've leveraged Assure for some of our special purpose vehicles, AngelList for our syndicate, and there's a lot of other providers out there domestically and internationally. We'd be happy to have a conversation, happy to be helpful if we can. So any questions, comments, ideas, feel free to reach out. Feel free to drop a comment in below.